Hey guys, what's going on? This is Robbie, owner of CrossFit Reach, and I wanted to take a couple minutes just to do a little video for you, going over 5 of my favorite type of WOD formats that I love to do, okay? These are great types of formats, whether you're working out by yourself, which from time to time I do work out by myself, whether it's an off hour during our time in our box here, or if it's during class when we do our programming for our classes or any of my personal training programs for clients or my informational products that I have for double unders and so on and so forth. These are the type of formats that I love to use for a couple of reasons. First of all, the main reason is it's effective, all right? It's something that you can do. There's an end result to it, and you're able to gauge your performance. So that's the most important thing when it comes to training, engaging how well that training is going for the athlete, is whether or not they're improving. So in order to do that, in order to have the data available to see if that person is improving, it's important to have formats that allow you to see that. So that's why we incorporate a lot of these 5 different types of training programs, and I want to go over them right now with you real quick. So let's get started. So the first one that I want to go over that we typically do, if you've been doing CrossFit for any amount of time, and you speak the language of CrossFit now, then you know what an EMOM is. So sometimes it's EMOM or EMOTM, which is every minute on the minute, okay? This is one of my favorite things to do because if you're working out, and especially if you're working out by yourself, sometimes it's hard to stay motivated, right? So by doing every minute on the minute, it kind of gives you enough to do, so that way you're able to stay motivated the entire time, as opposed to just a long workout by yourself with no one else to push you along the way. So every minute on the minute is great. So a couple things I like about every minute on the minute. First of all, it's great for working on your skill work. So say you're working on double unders, you're working on barbell movements, any type of movement in CrossFit, toes to bar, pull-ups, muscle-ups. Every minute on the minute is going to allow you to get in those repetitions, so you can set a certain reps. So say, 3 to 5 muscle-ups every minute on the minute for 10 minutes. Okay, so you're doing 5 reps the first minute, then you rest. Second minute, you go again. The nice thing about that is it helps to build that volume for you. It allows you to work and have a little bit of rest to recover, okay, which is important when we're doing our WODs. We want to be able to use that high intensity, being able to recover quickly so that we can move on to the next movement in the workout as we go along. So especially if you're a competitive athlete and you're looking to make it to the regionals or the games, it's important to have that high work intensity, work capacity that you're able to quickly rebound, and that's where the every minute on the minute comes into play, and it's also a really good thing to use. So that's something we use a lot of times here, and we actually use it in my double under program, a couple other programs I have, we use that as well, and we use it all the time in the gym. The other thing, number 2 would be a work to rest ratio. So this is something I really like to do as well when I'm working out by myself or with a friend. So an example of a work to rest ratio would be however long you work for, that's how long you rest for. So that would be a 1-to-1 ratio of work to rest. And you can change the work. It could be 2-to-1, it could be 3-to-1, it could be 1-to-2. It's really up to you and how much you want to rest and where you are in your training program. So typically I stick to a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 when I'm doing my own workouts. So say for example you're doing a 500-meter row, 20 handstand push-ups, 50 double unders. However long it took you to do that, you would rest that same amount of time if you're doing a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay? If you're doing a 2-to-1 ratio, you'd be resting half the amount of time it took you to finish it. Does that make sense? So that's something that you can use and incorporate in your own training. It's a good way to build up that volume and intensity and your work capacity as you go along in your training. Number 3, reps for time. So that's something that is also very helpful. A little bit different, a little bit harder to, I would say, stay motivated when you're working out by yourself as opposed to an EMOM or a work to rest ratio, but it's still very effective. So it's building that volume, that work capacity, and able to do it in a shorter amount of time each time you reattempt it, okay? So say, for example, 100 double unders. How fast can you do it? 100 double unders. Say the first time it takes you 5 minutes. Second time you do it, a couple months from now, it takes you 3 minutes. So it's working on building that work capacity, and it's a good way to gauge where you are in your training and make adjustments if you need to make adjustments. Number 4, setting the time to establish a max. So this is something we do in class. We see this a lot of times in competitions, and that is, say for example, hey, you got 10 minutes, establish that max clean and jerk rep as much as you can. So the nice thing about that, usually 10 to 15 minutes is what you'll see. Sometimes in a competition mode, it might be 8 minutes, but really, on average, it's going to be 10 to 15 minutes, okay? Establishing that max. The nice thing about that is you have a set time. So you know mentally, hey, I got 10 minutes to get this done, all right? And you're not worried about going over that 10-minute period. So mentally, you can handle it. The nice thing about this, too, is it's your max for the day. So it may not be a PR on, say, your clean and jerk, if you're trying to establish that in 10 minutes, but you're trying to do the best you can for that day, with the idea being getting better and better as you go along. So it's a nice thing to have a max attempt. And it can also be not just clean and jerks, not just barbell movements. It can be anything. It can be max pull-ups in that set amount of time. So trying to get a max set of pull-ups, the most unbroken double unders in one set. It really depends on what you're looking to work on in practice, but it works across the whole spectrum of movements in CrossFit. And then finally, the AMRAP. So the AMRAP I put as number 5 because not necessarily my favorite, okay, but I still love it, all right? My first being the EMOM is my favorite one to do if I'm working out by myself or in a class structure. However, an AMRAP is always great to build that engine. Typically anywhere from 8 up to 20 minutes can be that AMRAP. And that can be anything and everything in terms of movement. So it can be heavy, it can be body weight, it can be a combination. So that is also a good way to test how well you're doing in your movements, and also seeing where you are with that work capacity and how you're able to handle a long AMRAP, and see where you are mentally along with physically. So I just wanted to share those 5 types of training that we do, types of formats that we use here at CrossFit Reach, and also in my own training systems. Feel free to use any of those formats that you want to use in your own training. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to help you out. And we'll talk to you soon.